I had to turn on a light for better lighting, um, because without the light, it seemed a little dark when I look into the camera. Might have not been so much on a replay, but didn't want to take the chance of pre-recording and have to end up recording again, because you never get to make a first impression twice, and I didn't want to miss the message. A lot of time when it comes on me to um, get a word out or say what it is that I need to say, get the message out, get the delivery out. It sounds one way in my head, I guess, because in my subconscious and in my conscious, I am my higher self, which is where I'm physically evolving to. So the connection, the communication with God and my higher self, it is a very clear, concise message. Comes across smooth. And so in my physical, I know what it is that I need to say. And I hope that I'm relaying those messages as clear and concise as they are when I'm at my higher state. That is what I hope for. Um, so I just want to jump back into a minute other things that I've learned regarding my breakup. When I go back in retrospect, when I can look at it from another perspective of clear-headedness and outside of the pain. You can have all the love in the world you do have for yourself, but you still have to, like, the love you have for yourself is not enough to extend and give to someone else who do not have the same love for their self, nor, and thus being unable to return love. Let me say it again, because I might have fucked that up. I had so much love for myself. I had so much love for myself, and I'm aware that I have a healing love. However, I have to be cognizant of the people that I give my love to, my time, my energy. They are some of the most valuable resources that I have. And if I am not careful, I can drain myself. And this is me taking accountability. Because yes, people are draining, but they cannot drain you if you are not giving of your resources, right? Now, I was giving of my resources freely because this is someone that I was in a relationship with and that I was in love with. He may or may not love me, I don't know. In my opinion, at this time, that is questionable. However, I was going off of the basis of how I felt and assumed that was being reciprocated. And all the love that I've had inside of me, where I seen, because I've clearly seen where he was lacking some self-love. At the time, it was okay, because I conjured in my mind that no one is perfect. And so he's so good in these other areas with taking care of me, taking care of the family, doing him, teaching with us, communicating and bonding and teaching each other how we will interact and be with one another in this relationship. And not to say it's free, but there's levels to relationships. You get that? So I seen areas where he would struggle with self-love. At the time, yes, I was in my mid-20s, but I was a street child, and I learned more about myself, I want to say, at a later date, right? Um, Meaning to really get into myself and who I really was. It's kind of like, I think I was always aware, but maybe not solidifying knowing, if I'm making sense. But okay, let me get to the point. So, um, I seen times that, he would struggle with self love, and for me at the time that wasn't an issue because I was like, I got the love for both of us. You know what I'm saying? And what I have in me, I can share with you. But that is, I found out in the breakup that that is not fucking possible. It's not possible to love someone more than you love yourself. It is not possible to share this healing, pure, gratifying, real abundance of resources with someone who, number one, does not have those resources for themselves, and because they don't have those resources for themselves, they're not able to return it to you. At the time, I wasn't aware that he couldn't return it to me. It was more like, I, this is what girlfriends do, or this is what wives do. We be there for a minute, and if he see the way that I love him, then he'll be able to love himself, and he'll love me for loving him no matter what. And that's the love that he'll give to me. Am I making sense? Like, he'll give me the love because he'll understand that I'm loving him no matter what. And that's how he's going to love me back. And it wasn't mathematics. To me, it just made sense. Like, okay, he doesn't have that love, but it's okay because I got enough for both of us. And then that way, the love that he gives me back is not just because he loves me, but it's also going to be because he see that I love him no matter what. So I had to find out during the breakup that love is interchangeable. Even though love languages is different and people have different definitions of love, but love is interchangeable. It is an exchange of energy. Understanding is the highest vibration, and it is definitely just as high as love, and they coincide together. They like intertwine, and I just see so many flaws in how he chose to deal with me um, during our reconnection, or reuniting, and after, and how he dealt with our children during and after. And was it was messy, it was ugly. And I believe Nina Simone was the first that I've heard say that when love is no longer being served from the table, that you have to get up from the table. And what I've learned again in retrospect, looking back from the breakup, is that it takes more than love. To keep a relationship afloat. And when you are pouring 80% of yourself into someone else that is not even giving you 20, they're giving you nothing, and he started pulling. I realized then that it was more than self-love he was lacking. It was a lot of unresolved trauma. things I had not or was not able to recognize in our youth when we were together. Not just a lot of unresolved trauma, but in conjunction with that, anger issues, in conjunction with that, drug abuse, in conjunction with that, misdirected aggression and anger, and they're all probably subtitles under trauma. But it was like someone kept pulling me to do more. Like I was supposed to just, it was such a double-edged sword. I've seen, witnessed me being disrespected, resented for being the woman that I've become, for being strong, for being caring, for loving, for having the audacity to have an opinion, having the goal to have an emotion about anything that he was doing and or saying, or you know, it was that. But pardon me, um just a high pitched ringing in my ear. And I subside to it when I hear it. I just stop everything and let it pass. Um, but then, like, without me becoming that woman, like I was forced into that position. But I'm glad that was presented with the opportunity through God to be able to stand strong and to be able to take care of our family and to take care of him when he was in a dire situation, because I feel like it made me a better partner. I've learned a lot, um and in crisis management. um I didn't allow the pain to break me. I allowed it to propel me into a better version of myself. I learned more about identifying my emotions. um it it catapulted me into my spirituality, honestly, because um during the separation I was just so broken and confused and lacking information, in which he kept from me and still kept from me to this day. And it's just like, and because I was with life in me, I said, okay, you know what, you have to make a decision, because your mind state can alter the everything with this baby, from the mental, the physical, the emotional. So you have to make up your mind and stick with that. And whatever it is that you decide to do, this is me talking to myself, whatever it is that you decide to do, you got to make the best of it so that you can have a healthy baby. You do not want the baby to become a victim of circumstances or suffer any ailment because of your depression, because of decisions you as an adult and the father as an adult have made. So I mean, and it's just, when I go back and think about it too, sometimes when I get caught up in like now, like when I'm trying to get messages across and the memories start to flood my mind, and it's just, before it used to trigger me, it doesn't trigger me anymore. Um, I look for other things that I may have missed, which sometimes I try to it's not intentional. I don't try. Sometimes I pause a little bit, or I might redirect my wording, mainly because I'm combing through the memory as I see it in my mind to see if it may have been something I've missed in the lesson. Um, but I there's so much that's important when it comes to relationships. And let me just say this, it is equally important for men not to just begin a healing journey themselves. It is important for them to sit with themselves, take accountability in their actions to date, whatever that may be, that have them where they are. Because if where they are in life is not a desired effect of where they feel like they should be or where they feel like they want to be, they have to recognize that it is not the fault of their companion or significant other. They need to take accountability, and they need to seek the proper help to be able to reposition themselves in their lives to get where they need to be. Because it is so unfortunate that people as a whole have self-security issues. They're not aware. They're not self. I don't want to say self-sufficient, because self-sufficient leads more towards finance, but they don't have self-awareness, and they have unresolved trauma, and that combination right there is a surefire way to destroy what has been good, what may have been good. I know for sure that was a surefire way that destroyed what the fuck, we had. And just as a whole, I don't know, because I'm not a man, so I don't know. I just know what I see. And I don't know if it's ego driven. I don't know if it's pride. I don't know if it's self-esteem. I don't know if it's a trauma, or it could be a combination of everything. But as an individual, you have to know your value and understand what your worth is. And that is why I say love is not enough, because everybody's love language is different. And if your love language is different than mine, then we need to find a medium where we are able to communicate, to understand each other. This is once we have a vested interest. Once we find a way to communicate that we can understand each other, a medium where I can accept your love language and I can deliver back to you and your love language, and vice versa, it's a different level of reciprocity. But it's not difficult, because men are not difficult. And men are not difficult because one of the things I've learned over my life about men is that when a man has a sincere interest in something, then he's going to do whatever he needs to do to obtain it and keep it. So when these men, they just love these cars, they just love these tools, or they just love these gadgets, and even a woman, they will do the research required on what it is to obtain it, what it is to maintain it, devise a plan, for lack of better words. And because they are wired to be hunters, they're going to go and get what they want. They already know how to keep it. And so I kept getting signs that I was not wanted. That was in his actions. My love language is action. I have been taught in the hood that fuck what people say. Actions will always dictate how people really feel. I.e., this is how I came to the point of sticking with this man through this motherfucking bed. This is how I also found out in retrospect that The lessons that we've learned in the hood are very valuable lessons, and though they may not, we shouldn't allow them to completely go stray, but we have to realize when in our adult life it is time to release those old belief patterns and take on a new. And I'm not saying that we have to, um, or me, I'm not saying that I gotta flip that thought process of believing actions. I think that's one that's gonna be kind of hard to get rid of. Um, but because to me, actions, honestly tell the truth. But things like sticking by your man no matter what, um, things like loving someone more than you love yourself, um, things like pouring more into someone than they're able to pour back, things like or beliefs, or you being shown that you gotta keep giving your man help, you gotta keep giving him benefit of the doubt, and meanwhile he has to maintain the title of leader, he has to maintain being a man of the house, but his actions are showing 100% opposite of that. um it's a falsetto as you grow into adulthood, when just human decency is the bare minimum. And I was not given that. I wasn't even given human fucking decency. And so, because love languages is different, and because I had to get up because love wasn't being served, I saw that. That is what I saw. And that's why I say love isn't enough. It's not that that's going to apply to every individual I meet, but the love that he claimed that he had, because he surely would tell me, oh, I love you, we've been through so much, but he would behave in the total opposite way, lets me know what he really meant. And that type of love is not enough for me. That type of love, I needed to get up from that table, because that is not love. There was no mediation, there was no compromising. It was, I've seen plenty of ego tripping, and at the same time trying to make me feel less than. He wasn't successful with that, so then that began to anger him, and I was verbally attacked or physically attacked, and I was talked down about my parenthood, I was talked down about my just shit that I would not ever, never normally put up with anyone else. I made an exception, and trying to extend my love and still understand what it was he was going through. And I would communicate with him still gently and say, well, we need to talk about this, but you're yelling at me, or you dictating to me. That is not the way that you can get through to me. We need to talk, we need to. And that just went over his head, and it was just very fucking ugly. And I've learned to take that Nina Simone quote just a little bit further and say, when a motherfucker can't even compromise with you on the bare minimum, which is human decency and the companionship, where the bare minimum should at least be respect, because we never gave each other a reason to disrespect. And that is enough for conversation right there to say, I need to talk to you. That's when I gotta get the fuck up. Not just not showing love, disrespect, misplaced anger, misplaced aggression, hostile communication. That is not the woman that I have grown to be. And with me compromising so much of my life and dedicating so much of my life and resources when I really didn't have to, but I did, but I did, and I take full accountability for that. But just going back there put me in a place of depression, severe stress. My body was showing signs of it. Um, Oppression even. Um, and I had to get out of that for my own safety and the safety of my children, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. You know, he left first. He left last. Um, or rather, should I say, the last time that he left was the last opportunity I gave him to leave. Um, but then I began to, when he left, I left, but I think the separation gave me, I think I took it for granted, unknowing that was like I was being shown a preview in our separation of what my life would be like without him. I found myself in his absence, like I mentioned earlier, because um of the whole thought process and mindset and that I had fell into because of the initial heartbreak of our separation back in 2007. um just catapulted me into a different space because I realized I was going into a rabbit hole and I didn't want to go there. And so I found myself in a different level, a different version of myself, the mature, the woman, the wife, the significant other, the mother. Like I really found myself, and I don't regret that at all. Um and I continue to evolve and I continue to find out new things about myself, and I'm excited about it because the little girl in me looks up to me and says, you're pretty cool. You're not as bad as I assume. Like aging isn't as bad as I assumed that it would be in my youth. And I have a protector in me and I have a provider in me. And unfortunately, since he left in 2007, so I'm gonna say previous to 2007, I was no longer able to depend on him for anything except emotional support, in which he fed that part of me through the best ways we was able to communicate through letters and telephone. And when I was able, or when I was granted permission, to take the kids and visit him, I was granted that. And he was so far, so it was far in between, but even still, he granted me the emotional support. But it was really all in retrospect, it was all the part of the manipulation, because he knew I was in love with him. He Whenever his feelings began to change, or whatever he started doing, what he was doing that distracted him or made him want to try something different, do something different, grass was greener, or whenever he just up and decided, what, that I was younger then and I'm not in love anymore. But he still kept it going because he knew that he had me, and he knew that he was able to depend on me, and that I will always fucking show up for him. But not fucking once. Well, he did. He did show up for me 2003, 2002, when he and my ex got into a whole huge big fight. But that's another thing, I'll tell you about that later. But that's a physical thing, that's a man territorial thing, and still had nothing to do with me. That's just my perception. But not once since 2003, then, let's say, which is at this point over 20 years ago, have not fucking shown up for me. Egotistically, haven't shown appreciation for me. Not ever saying, you know what? And even though I don't get along with the other baby mother because he have a daughter that's older, I don't get along with that bitch. I don't fuck with that bitch, but I'm just gonna say facts is facts, right? I don't know what their relationship is like to this day. I don't speak to that man to this day. But I just said to myself, damn, did he ever stop to think what his children would possibly be like if I fell into victimhood, if I fell into being a victim of a circumstance, if I didn't get together with God and build myself up to be able to take care of my family, or like she did to take care of her daughter, would do he even care or wonder where his children would be? His children have done great in school. His oldest two is employed. His youngest is doing well in school. Nobody have jail records. Everybody is physically healthy, mentally healthy, doing well. And she and I'm just gonna throw it out there to say, she did the best that she could. I know I did the best I can because motherhood is one of the hats I take pride in wearing. I know that's one thing I do well. I do. And I may not be perfect at it, but I don't need to be perfect at it. And I just wonder, did he ever just say to himself though, damn, my kids is always good. She always made sure I was all right. Just no appreciation at all. No, emotionally speaking, no love shown, no respect shown, no fucking interest shown, no type of reciprocity shown. I was clearly shown, and this is without exaggeration. I was clearly shown that he had no interest in knowing or learning who I was, who his children were, the dynamic that had established in his absence, and he wasn't even aware of the importance of him returning and being a part of his family, even if we couldn't be together. He was never aware of how important his presence was as a man alone, just being a man in the lives of his children. Okay, we couldn't be together. We couldn't even co-parent. The motherfucker told me he can't co-parent if he don't live in a house. Well, why the fuck would I allow a motherfucker to return to live in a house with me that don't have or show no interest, not just in being with me, but having a relationship with the kids? He got frustrated with me because I told him one time, we were conversing one time, and he was frustrated, about me working a lot, which is understandable because my job is very demanding. But I told him there's ways that you can make use of your time, honey, because you've been gone for so long, and the boys really miss you. And there were bonds that you've had with your family, your brothers. You've been gone out of the lives of people who loved you and missed you for 13 years. Damn near 14. You can say 13 and a half years. You've been gone out of our lives. So it's me and you, yes, but there's so many other avenues you gotta start to rebuild and sew the bridge back together, and or create new bridges. So your family, your brothers, your sons. So it was things that you could do in that time. I never pressured him to get a fucking job because thank God I was in a financial situation where I was coasting. I was coming out of the financial struggle, but I was coasting. So, I felt like it was God's way of saying, speaking to me and just letting me know that, listen, I'm going to continue to work on him, but don't apply no outside pressure. So I didn't. This is my love language, trying to have an offer, understanding, and, it just is what it is. I'm not even complaining. I'm just trying to help you understand if I'm doing that while I'm going down memory lane. Some of the lessons I've learned in retrospect when I'm looking from a different angle. Because now the angle that I'm looking from is not so much from pain, but it's from just seeing the examples that I've been given, taking accountability, see where I played the part, see where I overextended myself, see where um I I um just could have done things differently. Um and just kind of hoping that if you're in your healing process, anywhere in your healing process, that you're not going through these alone. Um Another thing I learned about grief is that there is no time limit on grief. I kept trying to force a fucking time limit because um I just didn't want to allow that thing to keep having that heartbreak. I didn't want to allow it to keep having so much power over me, so much control over me. Because one minute I could be good and I could be cool, and another minute I could be enraged, anger, and I saw myself starting to become unlike myself, and I didn't want that for myself. So I had to give myself grace to go through and get through whatever it was that I needed, and to stop forcing a time limit on myself. And I am well aware, with speaking with professionals, that there's the 5 stages of the grieving process, right? But what I'm thankful for and what I realize now is that they never ever gave me a time limit, somehow or another I set that clock up in my head. Like, okay, these are the 5. Okay, so I'm here. I'm at this point. I'm at stage 2 right now. Right now I'm at stage 3. And somehow or another, I don't know, that meant like a time frame to me that I was supposed to be grieving. And I'm not sure if that's textbook theory, but I know for sure when I was speaking to professionals, no one ever gave me a time frame. They just explained to me the different processes. And I just want you to know that you're not going through it by yourself. You're not. You're allow yourself grace. Allow yourself to feel whatever you need to feel. Remember that anxiety, in order to get yourself through an anxiety attack, there's 2 ways that you can help yourself do that. Anxiety requires a physical it doesn't require, but it helps more when you have a physical response. So one of the things you can do is get outside and go for a walk, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Or another thing you could do is practice breathing exercises to be able to breathe your way through the emotions that have built up and caused anxiety. And I'm still a work in progress. From that breakup, I have healed. I realized for me, I don't know if healing can be done in stages like grief, but that is the way I healed. I had to heal at each stage. The anger, I had to heal that, you know, all the way to when you get to forgiveness. I had to heal that, and I had to do that shit in like parts A, B. See, I had to break that shit down because I had to forgive for so many different things for him, and then I had to work on forgiving myself. So give yourself grace, give yourself time. It is okay. And please remember, right? Please remember, do not try to be perfect, nor do you continue to seek perfection in anyone. Yes, we were all made in the image of, but we were made in the image. The image. Okay? So that means that our shells, a lot of our shells, are conducive to the Creator. We are not and won't ever be perfect, and to try to strive for perfection is an illusion. Don't live a fucking illusion. Don't be in disillusion. Don't fucking set yourself up for failure in striving for perfection. What you are working on is healing. And when you heal yourself from any trauma that you've been through at any time, you are healing generations back, regardless if they've been through the same trauma or not, because the great ancestors been through so much and gave you courage. The courage that you have built up is in God and in the ancestors, and they are assisting you along your journey. And when you heal, you help the ancestors feel better. You're healing them because the whatever that they've been through in the past has been healed. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because all of this shit is cycles. You just gotta break the cycle. It ain't nothing new under the sun. These cycles repeat itself. And I see that I gotta get ready and go, because yesterday I got cut off. And it's okay, it's all good. I just appreciate any time that you give me. I really do. Thank you for letting me vent. And just remember, you're not alone. And if these videos help you in any type of way, that makes me feel good. I mean, damn, you could send me an energetic thumbs up, though. You said send me something just to let me know that, keep me encouraged to keep going. I'm doing pretty good. But I just, because when the message come, I gotta get it out. But an energetic thumbs up will always be appreciated. Blessings to you and your healing journey. I hope you get to where you're going, baby. Healing is the destination. Yeah, it is.